Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to our Bodnar Financial Webinar Series. This is webinar number 2. Our first webinar discussed how to save for college without blowing your retirement. And if you haven't seen that one already, I strongly encourage you to check it out on our YouTube page. But don't check it out right now, because right now we have a great webinar for you about an issue that is becoming more and more important by the day, and that's the issue of protecting your online identity. It turns out nobody is invincible when it comes to ID theft. You may have recently seen that Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg had his Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest social media accounts hacked. And what password did this new daddy use to protect those accounts? DA, 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 or as my new grandson would say, da, da, da. While these high-profile cases are the ones that make the headlines, it's individuals and small businesses who are the real everyday victims of ID theft and cybercrime. So that's why I've invited Sam Webster, CEO of Secondhand Legends Web Design, to walk us through some of the basics of cybersecurity and easy actions all of us can take to protect ourselves online. So Sam, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. I'm happy to be here. Like John mentioned, my name is Sam Webster, and I founded Secondhand Legends Web Design. And a lot of what we do beyond just building websites is constant security monitoring, daily and weekly backups, and updates that ensure our clients' websites aren't going to get hacked. Or in some cases, we have people who become clients because their websites are already hacked, and I get hired to get their website back. Exciting for me, but never fun for the client. That Mark Zuckerberg story blows my mind, but most identity thieves don't rely on that kind of one-on-one hacking attempt. Most thieves cast a broad net and rely on opportunities. They won't target you specifically, but they will target. And maybe you happen to be one of the thousands of names on that list. That's the most common operating model, and they do it very well. According to the blog Security Intelligence, which is a product of IBM, cybercrime in the past 12 months has been nothing short of epic. Never before have we borne witness to the magnitude or sophistication of online crime as we did in 2015. Cybercrime costs US firms about $15 million a year, and it is expected to be a $2 trillion problem for the economy by 2019. And these aren't kids sitting in their parents' basements drinking Mountain Dew and trying to steal some spending money. These are organized crime syndicates located all over the world who move so much money that they are actually shifting national economies. You have to be in New York to get mugged by a New Yorker. Cybercrime doesn't work that way. They can get you anywhere. And that's why vigilance is key when it comes to protecting yourself online. Today, we're going to give you a basic blueprint for your online security in 7 easy steps. You may have heard the story of 2 hikers running from a bear. One says, "You know we can't outrun this bear." And the other replies, "I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you." The same holds true to some extent for cybersecurity. Ideally, everyone would practice cybersecurity best practices. But the second most common password in the US in 2015 was password. So a lot can be accomplished with some basic cybersecurity tweaks that will make you far from the easiest target around. So our first tip is don't open email attachments unless you're specifically expecting them. There are many good reasons to open email attachments. Maybe you've specifically requested a document from someone. Maybe you're working with a vendor and they're sending over proofs or a proposal. Maybe your kids are sending you pictures of your adorable grandchildren. But in all these cases, you know exactly what the attachment is and you're expecting to receive it. When this isn't the case, you need to be very careful. Email attachments are one of the most common vehicles for viruses, spyware, ransomware, and all other kinds of digital nastiness. Most dangerous are applications ending in .exe, PDFs ending in .pdf, and scripts ending in .js, .php, .cs, and many others. But there are dozens of file types that can hide a serious threat. A good rule is to just not open an attachment you're not expecting. Reputable institutions, including your bank, will not send you attachments by email unless you've specifically requested something. And remember, even if you trust the person on the other end, they could have been hacked themselves, and the hacker could be using their email. So just because a message comes from a trusted source doesn't mean it can be trusted. Another trick commonly used by hackers is to change the nickname of their email address so that it says something like Marriott Customer Rewards. But when you look at their actual email address, it's just a bunch of letters and numbers. Tip number 2, never give out passwords or account info by email. Some common scams involve the scammers pretending to be a reputable institution. Some will even mimic the style of your bank's emails, or even set up an entirely fake website that's almost identical to another website, such as your bank's. They will try to trick you into divulging passwords or account information, but don't be fooled. No bank will ever ask you for your password, login, or account number by email. And if you get an email directing you to a site to take some action, like you see here, don't go to the site through the link in the email. Instead, open a browser and go there independently. That will stop hackers from using fake sites to steal your information. Or better yet, call the bank itself and talk to a representative. If there's really a need for your account info, they'll be able to confirm your identity over the phone. And if they don't know anything about it, then you're escaping some scammer's net. Tip number 3, avoid common email scams. You didn't win a foreign lottery, no Middle Eastern prince needs your help getting his money out of the country, and your grandson isn't in jail in Mexico and needs you to wire him money. At least we hope not. These are common techniques used to swindle people out of their account information, or to even have victims send their money directly to scammers. Many of these are well known and discredited, like the time-honored Nigerian prince. But scammers are coming up with new ones every day, and people have been led on for years by fake love interests or business partners online. There's one man in New Jersey who lost $50,000 from a Facebook scam when he was contacted by a woman who claimed to be stationed in Afghanistan as a drill sergeant with the US Army. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Tip number 4 is keep your software up to date. Who's heard of the Panama Papers? Those would be the 11.5 million leaked documents that brought down the Prime Minister of Iceland and implicated 12 current or former world leaders in varying levels of financial malfeasance. There's evidence that the hack was made possible by out-of-date software on the Mossack Fonseca's website, a problem that would have taken no more than a day and probably less than 15 minutes to fix. You see this button that says Update? It's possible I'm oversimplifying things, but it's also possible that if someone clicks that button, the Prime Minister of Iceland gets to keep his job. Now, your data might not be on the level of the Panama Papers, but it's important to you, and we all have a lesson to learn from Mossack Fonseca. Keep your software up to date. Software updates include changes to the program and its capabilities, but they also include important security updates to correct vulnerabilities that have been discovered since the program's release. These can be crucial in protecting your data, and they can usually even be configured to run in the background. If you don't have the time or the interest in updating them, you can hire someone else to worry about that stuff so you don't have to, but somebody should be doing it. This is one of the easiest steps you can take. Tip number 5, don't reuse passwords and use a password manager. Any security expert will tell you not to reuse passwords, and of course you shouldn't. If someone breaks into one service and you only have one password, then they've broken into every service you have. But who can remember hundreds of different passwords required for modern digital life? Since you're probably going to reuse passwords, do yourself this favor. Don't reuse passwords for critical services. Have a strong, unique password for your email, your online bank, your computer, your cloud backups or online storage, and other crucial services. Then if someone breaks into your email account, they can't get into your bank account. If you're reusing passwords, they might still get access to your Facebook, but they can't do a lot more than send spam to your friends. Even better is to use a password manager. These tools generate passwords for you, push them through some heavy-duty encryption, and store them, automatically filling out passwords on websites you visit. You'll need one super strong password for the manager itself, and do yourself a favor and never forget this password. But once you have that, it can generate unique passwords for every site you use. Now, can a password manager service itself get hacked? Anything is possible. But as of right now, no major password manager's vault has ever been breached. And it's still enormously better than using the same password for every service. And unless you're going to keep a written record of your long and complex passwords in a physical location somewhere, this service comes with some of the least risk. Tip number 6, use passphrases instead of passwords whenever you can. There's a really cool tool online that can measure the strength of your passwords. It's called the Passfault Analyzer. It allows you to input the password and tells you how long it would take a hacker to crack it. You'll be surprised how easy some passwords are to crack. Take the password grapefruit. That's 10 characters with 10 billion permutations in the pattern. Modern password cracking software can break it in under a day, and some attacks can break it in a few seconds. But take a stronger password that would meet more password requirements. Grapefruit here with the ampersand instead of the A and an exclamation point. We've all been here when you replace letters and numbers in your password with symbols to meet password requirements. This password has more than 102 billion permutations, but it could still be broken under a day, even if it would last 10 or 100 times as long as the simple dictionary word. It also comes with the added stress of trying to remember what letters you replaced with symbols or where you put exclamation points, but it's certainly an improvement over a single dictionary word. But if you go totally random, take this next password, I won't even try and read it, that password might take a respectable year and 2 months to crack, but good luck remembering that for every service you use, unless, of course, you're using a password manager. But let's look at one more. Take grapefruit is my favorite food. This password, if your system allows you to use spaces in your password, is easy to remember, has 12 septillion permutations in the pattern. How long would this take to crack? Try 20 million years, really. You won't always be able to use passwords like this, but the point is to remember that sprinkling your password with random symbols and numbers is okay, but if you can't remember it and have to reset it every time, it can be counterproductive, especially if using an easily memorable passphrase is an option. And our last tip is to turn on two-factor authentication. At the end of the day, every password can be broken or subverted through some vulnerability, or bypassed entirely through user carelessness. The best way to protect against this is to turn on two-factor authentication, available in many online services. This requires you to enter your password alongside a secret code that will be sent to your phone, usually by text message. The logic is that even if hackers breach your password, they won't have your phone, so it won't do them any good. This combination of requiring something you know and something you possess will deter most attacks. Not every service offers this yet, but it's prudent to turn it on for the ones that do. And one final note to leave on before I hand it back over to John. ID protection involves monitoring your personal data both on and offline. You should be actively monitoring your credit and ready to freeze it if something looks suspicious. But also don't forget to physically secure your important papers and properly dispose of documents. The Bodnar Financial Office has a shred bin just for that. Bring the papers into the office, and a shred truck will come once a month to properly dispose of them.
That is good stuff, Sam. You know, this webinar is a fine reminder to all of us that small changes in our own personal activities can prevent big problems later on. It's also one of those topics that the more I listen to Sam and the more answers I get, it just creates more questions in my mind. So we put together a list of rapid fire questions for Sam to answer about some of the latest developments, most frequently asked questions that we in the office get regarding cybersecurity. So Sam, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here's the first one. When Google Chrome pops up and asks me to save my password or my credit card information, is that safe to do?
Saving your passwords and information in Google Chrome isn't inherently unsafe. Chrome's not going to have a data breach and reveal your passwords, so you don't need to worry about that because it stores all the data on your computer. The downside, though, is that anyone who has access to your account can see all of your passwords if they know what they're doing, and this includes malware. So if you have a really strong password protecting the account you use to log into your computer, and you have good antivirus software keeping your computer clean from malware, then you're probably fine having Chrome remember your passwords. If you don't, then I would avoid it. Your passwords are only as secure as your computer. But a better option is to just get one of those password managers we just talked about. It'll do almost the same thing, but it can't be compromised by malware and remain secure even if someone gets access to your computer.
I agree with that. We use a password manager here in our office, and if any clients are wondering which one we use, just call the office and we'll be happy to tell you. All right, question number 2, something that Mrs. Bodnar and I talk about all the time while we're traveling. Is free public Wi-Fi safe? And what's the safest kind of Wi-Fi?
So nothing's perfectly safe when it comes to cybersecurity, but free Wi-Fi can be plenty safe as long as you take some basic precautions. First of all is to make sure that file sharing is disabled on your computer when you're accessing free Wi-Fi. Thankfully, most modern computers make this easy. When you connect to a new Wi-Fi source, it'll give you some options about how to treat this source. It'll say, should we treat this like home, work, or public? If you tell it public, then it'll lock down your files for you. Also, it's always better to use free Wi-Fi that is password protected. Now, most coffee shops and hotels will have free Wi-Fi, but they will require a password. This is good because it increases your security by limiting the number of people who can snoop on the internet traffic. And some scammers will try to set up fake Wi-Fi services named after local businesses, and they'll call them something like Hilton Free Wi-Fi, hoping that people will connect to them instead of the legitimate service. So if you have to ask the business you're at for the password, you can make sure you're connecting to the real deal and not a scammer. So if you take both of those precautions, then you should be pretty safe connecting to free Wi-Fi.
All right. Well, here's one about credit cards, because we're getting a lot of questions lately about as people shop, and instead of swiping, we now insert our card. So what's the deal with the new credit card chip, and why is everybody using that now?
The credit card chip was designed to correct security weaknesses in the old magnetic strips on credit cards. So those strips contained static data. So if somebody copied that magnetic strip, they could use your card just like it was in their possession. Now, the new chip on the card contains dynamic data. So it creates a unique transaction ID every time you use the card. So even if a thief copies the data from a transaction, they can't continue to use your card. So that's been a big improvement in security on cards and has gone a long way in reducing fraud.
But that reminds me of a story. And the problem right here is Jackie B's rolling her eyes right now saying, uh-oh, we're going to try to keep this under 25 minutes and my old man is going to tell a story. But it reminds me of a client who recently called the office here and told us a story of how he and 3 or 4 other folks that he works with went out to lunch to celebrate somebody's retirement, and a week later 3 out of the 4 of them got their credit card bill in the mail, and they had illegal charges on there, unauthorized charges. They had been hacked, and the reason was that the only client, the only person there who had their card protected was a Bodnar Financial client that used the sleeve. So the sleeve actually protects your new dynamic card from scammers. So please, if you're not using those sleeves, call the office. We'll send you out some. All right, which brings us to another question, Sam. Do I really have to change my password every 6 months?
Well, the short answer is no. This rule is a relic of a time when passwords took a lot longer to crack, and changing them could stop thieves from utilizing a password that had been stolen. But the harsh truth these days, like we just saw on the earlier password slide, is that most passwords can be cracked, even pretty strong ones, in under a day. So if a thief has your password, he's going to use it in much faster than 6 months. Also, if you need to change your password every 6 months, most services that require that will forbid you from reusing old passwords. And in this situation, you're going to do what everybody else does and either increment the number in your password by 1, or change one symbol, or capitalize one letter. And these changes aren't dramatic enough to really even slow down a hacker that has your password. The better option these days is to just pay attention to what services have had leaks and breaches. Most of them will be transparent about it these days. And if your password has been leaked, change that password everywhere you use it, not just at the service that has been breached. Because once hackers have a password, they're going to run it with your email address against every service they can find, just to see if they get lucky. But it's not really going to be productive to change your password on an arbitrary schedule unless you have some reason to believe it's been compromised.
All right, I think we have time for one more. How about robocalls on my cell phone, Sam? You know, there's a fear a lot of people have that these robocalls are going to allow your phone to be hacked.
So you're probably not getting hacked. Occasionally, with a new version of a smartphone operating system, there will be vulnerabilities that make that possible, but those are usually patched in hours or days. So you're not really at risk for that, but you're probably getting canvassed for future hacking. So hackers will make billions of calls to cell phones and wait to hear a voice or a cough or anything that lets them know that the line is live and belongs to a person. Once they know that, they'll enter you into a database and call back pretending to be your bank or your insurance company or any number of other organizations in an attempt to get you to divulge your personal data. So if you start getting those robocalls, be on the lookout for future scams. And a good rule is to follow the same precautions as when you get emails from, quote unquote, your bank. If you get a call asking to reveal your account info or your PIN, just hang up. Call the bank back yourself and see if they know what you're talking about. If they do, it's a legit call. If they don't, you just dodged a scam.
All right. Well, we've promised to try to keep these webinars below 25 minutes, and we've been able to do that. So that's all the time we have for questions right now for Sam. But folks, Sam is our resource for all things online here in the office. So if you have any questions on cybersecurity, please feel free to contact the office. We will get you an answer. And if you like this content, please give us some feedback, because this was Sam's basic top 7 small changes you can make to protect your identity online. He has a more advanced cybersecurity webinar that we can invite him back to present, but I really only want to do that if there's a demand for it. So thanks for joining us today. I hope you got some value out of this. Remember, life is too short to worry about money, and it's definitely too short to worry about someone else running around using your name and your credit cards. So let Bodnar Financial help you achieve your life goals with a sense of security. Now go out and have a great day.